Welcome to A News. I'm Leila Masimova, bringing us the latest breaking news. France unveiled its new government, seeking an end to weeks of political uncertainty following the ouster of former Prime Minister Michel Barnier. The political tension in Georgia reached its peak. President Salome Zurabishvili calls on government to negotiate new elections. The explosion at munitions factory in Turkey claims 12 lives. Authorities rule out of sabotage. France has unveiled a new government under Prime Minister François Bayrou, featuring some new faces. Their main challenge is passing the 2025 budget and steering the country through a deepening crisis. Bruno Retailleau is Interior Minister, Jean-Noël Barrot is Foreign Minister, and Sébastien Lecornu is Defense Minister. Elisabeth Borne moves to Education and Gérald Darmanin takes Justice. Manuel Valls becomes Overseas Territories Minister. Bayrou, after 10 days of challenges, must focus on passing the 2025 budget. After Parliament pushed back led to the fall of his predecessor Michel Barnier. The EU-Mercosur deal continues to cause consternation, especially in France, where many farmers are worried that increased imports could harm their livelihood. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen continues to press ahead, so while French President Emmanuel Macron opposes a deal which came together after 25 years of talks.
Thank you very much. Thank you, my friend.
On July 18th, the European Parliament elected Ursula von der Leyen as President of the European Commission with 401 votes. While her campaign priorities did not include the EU-Mercosur trade deal, she later advanced the agreement at a strategic moment. The EU-Mercosur trade agreement, aiming to create a massive free trade zone, has been negotiated for over 25 years. A political agreement was reached in 2019, but France blocked progress, citing concerns over agriculture competition and harm to local farmers. At France-Brazil Economic Forum in March this year, Macron has repeatedly expressed reservations about the pact.
I deeply believe that we need to rethink our trade rules in light of this advantage, which is why I prefer to put my foot down in front of this assembly. I've spoken out very forcefully to say that Mercosur, as it is negotiated today, is a very bad agreement. But I think it's a very bad deal for you and for us.
French farmers protested throughout the year to trade deal. Farmers in parts of France drove their tractors into cities, chanting anti-Mercosur slogans. On November 27th, France Parliament voted almost unanimously against the deal, a rare show of unity in a politically divided country. Short after the parliamentary vote, France faced political turmoil as Prime Minister Michel Barnier was ousted in a no-confidence vote. This weakened President Macron's position both domestically and within the EU. Seizing the moment, Ursula von der Leyen said the finish line for the deal was in sight as she headed to a Mercosur summit in Montevideo. On December 6, von der Leyen signed the deal in Uruguay without France's approval.
This agreement is not just an economic opportunity, it is a political necessity. We're like-minded partners. We have common roots. We have an intertwined history and culture. We both believe that openness and cooperation are the true engines of progress and prosperity. I know that strong winds are blowing in the opposite direction, towards isolation and fragmentation, but this agreement is our clear response.
Now France seeks to form a blocking minority within the EU to halt the deal, and its only strong supporter is Poland.
Rada Ministrów wyraża sprzeciw wobec dotychczasowych
The
wyników.
Cabinet of Ministers disagrees with the result of the current negotiations with Mercosur in the area of agriculture, especially with the increase of customs quotas for poultry products at the last stage of exchanging the tariff offers. This is maybe a bit complicated and in professional language, but in short, it is about the political message that Poland will not accept, and we are not alone.
I oczywiście nie jesteśmy sami.
On December 12th, Macron visited Poland, aligning with Prime Minister Donald Tusk in opposing the Mercosur deal. Both leaders voiced concerns about the pact's impact on agriculture, though France still needs additional EU support to block the agreement. Austria, Belgium, the Netherlands and Italy are also concerned about the free trade agreement. Macron's efforts to oppose the Mercosur deal were disrupted by Cyclone Chido, which devastated Mayotte, the poorest French territory. The storm caused significant destruction and Macron faced public anger over delayed aid. This crisis further diverted attention from the trade agreement. Domestic challenges and external crises have weakened Macron's ability to oppose the Mercosur deal. French president may block the Mercosur trade deal by rallying opposing EU states or vetoing it in the European Council. Von der Leyen might split the deal into cooperation and trade components, allowing the trade part to pass with a qualified majority. France still needs support from the 4 states representing 35% of the EU population to block this scenario, with Italy as a key ally. However, von der Leyen could negotiate promises to isolate Macron.
Tensions flared in Tirana and Zagreb on Monday as protests erupted over the government accountability and public safety. In Albania, opposition leader Sale Berisha called for civil disobedience amid political unrest, while Croatia rallied for stronger school security after deadly stabbing attack.
Protests broke out in Albania's capital, Tirana, as opposition leader Sali Berisha demanded the resignation of the government ahead of May 2024 elections. Recently released from house arrest following corruption charges, Berisha urged his supporters to block roads and engage in civil disobedience. Minor clashes with police occurred during the protests.
For a caretaker government for elections, because Edi Rama respects no law, no criteria, no standard about the general elections. All what we want are free and fair elections on May 11.
Berisha claims the charges are politically motivated and seeks the formation of a caretaker government. In Croatia, a march took place in Zagreb in response to a tragic school stabbing that killed a 7-year-old child and injured 4 others. Organised by the Preporod School Union, the walk called for improved school safety measures.
Tonight we gathered here in a peaceful march to send a message as organizers of the 3 school unions to all citizens of the city of Zagreb about the importance of the issue of safety in our schools. There will be no speeches here, there will be no banners here, there will be no politics here. Send a message to current politics and all politics in the Republic of Croatia that those who are here tonight are not putting up with the situation, that our schools are actually dangerous to life for anyone, student, teacher, parent, anyone.
The attacker, a 19-year-old former student, was detained after the attack. Participants also criticised the Ministries of Education and Health for failing to prevent such violence.
Now joining us live is Filip Kalmarevich, an editor-in-chief of the Nation news portal. Filip, thank you for being with us today. We'll be discussing protests in the Balkans, and we're looking forward to hearing your insights on this matter. Protests in Belgrade saw around 100,000 people gathered demanding accountability of the governing structure led by Aleksandar Vučić. The police, of course, gave different numbers, saying that nearly 30,000 gathered. If the numbers published by the chief of the public gatherings based on aerial footage is accurate, that would make it bigger than October 2000 protests that ousted Milošević. Do you believe that this could bring forth a new election?
So thank you for talk to your TV channel. So first thing is that this demonstration protest started after terrible events in city here in Serbia, Novi Sad, after parts of train station fallen 15 people and killed them. That sparked demonstrations all over the country. Those demonstrations started as a blockade of faculty buildings by students, and after that it escalated in what we saw a few days ago on Sunday, that resulted in estimates say maybe 30, maybe 50, maybe 100,000 people. Police says that there were 30,000 people on the street, but it's obvious by pictures that you probably saw and videos that there were much more than 30,000 people. We had a lot of protests since Aleksandar Vučić took power in 2012. Most of them were unsuccessful in many ways. It doesn't matter were they protests against some measures of government, or ecological protests, or protests for freer elections. They mostly ended up being unsuccessful, and we will see will this protest end up being different than those before that.
Thank you. In Croatia, we saw demonstrations after an attack in an elementary school where a former student killed a 7-year-old. We earlier saw a similar thing in Serbia, where a pupil opened fire and killed 9 people. What can you tell us about the violence that surrounds the school systems in the former Yugoslav states? Is there a pattern? And is there a soft belly of Europe? The region has clear support in the European Union, confirmed by their candidacy status and continuous messages from Brussels.
So these events are really new to this region. We think that those are things that happen only in the United States, not here in the Balkans. So we had a similar event last year here in Serbia, when one child, I think 12 years old, killed many of his friends in school. We have here similar event here in Serbia. It sparked big demonstrations against the government and parliamentary elections in December last year. But the difference, I think, is that here we have a government that is in power much longer than in Croatia. Also in Croatia we have, let's say, separation of powers between president and a ruling party in parliament. So I guess that tensions are not that high in Croatia because of divided government, essentially, divided power. Unlike in Serbia, here we have absolute power of the Serbian Progressive Party for 12 years, and every event that causes some unwanted deaths of innocent people usually sparks big protests here in Serbia. We have also elections in Croatia now, presidential elections. We'll see will these events affect results for any of the candidates.
Thank you. And in the soft belly of Europe, the region has a clear support in the European Union, confirmed by their candidacy status and continuous messages from the Brussels. Nonetheless, many criteria that EU puts in front of US of say Belgrade or Sarajevo seem to be unattainable. What could the Western Balkans nation face in the current geopolitical state with polarizing issues dividing not only the West and East, but also the North and the South?
So we have a big polarization firstly in the world, and that also affects way to joining the European Union for these Western Balkan nations like Serbia, like Bosnia and Herzegovina, like Montenegro, and others, Albania, and so on. So essentially, I believe that we won't see any expansion of the EU. It's not just about rules set by Brussels. It's about is there a will by European Union members to let in a new country like Hungary that maybe become, in a sense of governance, like Hungary, like Poland used to be, or like maybe Romanian candidate for president that leads in the polls at the moment wants Romania to be. So essentially, before we see some major reforms in the European Union, I don't believe that any of nations that are not part of the European Union have any chance of joining EU in the next decade.
The European Union has long negotiated with some of the Western Balkans countries, most notably North Macedonia and Albania were frustrated with Brussels not opening specific chapters. Macedonians even changed the name of the country. Opinion polls show that most of the citizens of the region strive for EU integration. Does the EU interior risk Western Balkans from becoming someone else's sphere of influence, say Russia or Turkey?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that all of those countries in Western Balkans are essentially aligned in most of policies with the West, especially Macedonia and Albania and Montenegro, which are members of NATO. Also, not like Bosnia and Herzegovina and Serbia, which are not. So those countries are essentially tied with the West, and I don't see any space there for Russia or any other country, essentially, to, let's say, influence policies or strategic direction of those countries. But I see a way for, let's say, China to be more economically dominant in this region in the future, so as it is for many countries in European Union.
And my last question to you, political division is also one of the issues leading to protests in Albania. Do you consider the protests in Albania to have the necessary momentum to lead to any changes? And what do you believe may happen next?
I know that in Albania, Edi Rama has a strong hold on political power in that country, and that he is same as our president, essentially doing what West wants from him. Of course, he is in a much better position than Serbia in a way that he is more aligned with the West. But, and of course, that sparks demonstrations and protests against his government because they're always more, let's say, East-oriented or more sovereignty-oriented parties in countries here in Western Balkans that want to cut ties or change the tone of relations with Western dominant countries.
Thank you, Philip, for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now moving on to the next story, the political tension in Georgia has reached its peak in the recent days, where President Salome Zurabishvili emphasizes the necessity of new elections. The government remains firm in its stance. Protests are expanding and the situation is becoming more critical with each passing day.
Georgian President Salome Zurabishvili has announced that the country is in a state of political crisis According to the president, the solution lies in holding new parliamentary elections. Protests, which began after the elections on October 26th, have intensified following the government's decision to freeze European Union accession talks until 2028. Protesters are demanding immediate new elections.
We must reach a compromise through dialogue, otherwise the collapse of the regime could become inevitable.
Prime Minister Irakli Kobakhidze, however, has taken a firm stance. He stated that the president must step down by December 29th. The Georgian government's decision to halt EU accession negotiations has sparked widespread unrest across the country.
Former US President Bill Clinton was hospitalized with a fever. While it's not an emergency, his team is closely monitoring his condition. The 78-year-old former president was admitted to Georgetown University Medical Center for testing after developing a fever, according to his deputy chief of staff. He confirmed he is in a good spirits and receiving excellent care. Clinton actively supported Vice President Kamala Harris in the 2024 campaign and remains a prominent figure in U.S. politics. The U.S. President Joe Biden commuting sentences for 37 or 40 federal death row inmates. Their penalties now shift to life in prison without parole. Biden says he is more convinced than ever that the federal death penalty must end. However, that measure does not affect the over 2,000 people sentenced to death by state authorities. His decision comes just before the President-elect Donald Trump's return to the Oval Office in January, having resumed federal executions during his first term. An explosion occurred at an explosives manufacturing plant in the Karasi district of Balıkesir, Turkey. Authorities said 12 people were killed and 4 others injured in an explosion. Local media reported that the factory opened in 2014, manufactured munitions for light weapons. Turkish media quoted Balıkesir Governor İsmail Ustaoğlu, saying they ruled out sabotage as cause of the explosion. An investigation into the accident is underway. 2 people were killed and 4 others injured in an explosion at a former mechanical plant in Russia's Khakassia region, local authorities confirmed Monday. Preliminary reports indicate that explosion may have been caused by the breach of safety regulations, according to the Russian state-run news agency. Rescues and law enforcement are on site investigating the cause, as confirmed by the regional government. Governor Valentin Konovalov assured that investigations are ongoing. The scientists have uncovered a remarkably well-preserved 1,500-year-old shipwreck off the coast of Turkey's Ayvalık. Laden with thousands of ceramic plates, this extraordinary discovery provides valuable insights into ancient trade networks across the Mediterranean and beyond, offering a deep understanding of historic maritime commerce.
An extraordinary archaeological discovery has been made of Turkey's Aegean coast. A 1,500-year-old shipwreck filled with thousands of ancient ceramic plates has been uncovered near Ayvalık in Balıkesir province. As part of the Turkish Shipwreck Inventory Project, Blue Heritage, researchers used advanced robotic underwater vehicles designed and produced in Turkey to uncover the shipwreck. The ship dates to the late 5th century and is regarded as the largest plate shipwreck ever discovered in the Aegean and Mediterranean seas. The ship, measuring 50 meters in length and 9 meters in width, carried a cargo of around 10,000 ceramic plates, along with a smaller number of amphorae, ancient containers used to transport goods such as wine and oil. Dr. Harun Özdaş, director of Dokuz Eylül University's Center for Underwater Cultural Heritage, leads the team studying the wreck. He explains that the ship likely set sail from North Africa to Cyprus, designed for Istanbul, but was lost in a storm near Ayvalık. It's not the typical amphori we identify in classical archaeological studies, but rather much smaller, interwoven groups, each consisting of approximately 15 to 20 pieces. We have found the largest plate wreck ever discovered in the Aegean and Mediterranean regions. This has created great excitement for us, because it dates back to the early 6th century AD, around 500s. The ship likely sailed from North Africa or Cyprus, but sank in a storm of Ayva Lake. Its open sea location contributed to its remarkable preservation. This discovery provides new evidence of ancient trade routes that transported ceramics from North Africa, Egypt and Syria to regions such as Anatolia, Greece and Italy. Dr. Özdaş emphasizes that while these routes had been theorized, this is the first time such extensive underwater findings have confirmed them. One of the key features of this wreck is that it has never been touched. It's preserved and houses a large collection, valuable enough to open a museum. The variety and quantity of artifacts found make this wreck significant, offering a rich and diverse collection. The plates and amphorae suggest a trade network connecting North Africa, Cyprus and Crete to ancient cities like Ephesus and Troy. This network was crucial for distributing goods across the Mediterranean and Aegean. This 1500-year-old shipwreck not only sheds light on ancient maritime trade, but also highlights Turkey's role as a cultural and commercial hub.
The world's largest holographic zoo and digital experience center, DigiZoo, has officially opened its doors at the Mall of Istanbul.
Spanning 1,500 square meters, DigiZoo offers an immersive journey through interactive exhibits, virtual reality experiences, and holographic displays featuring over 50 species, designed to captivate both children and adults. A collaboration between Turkey's leading design studio Polyvision and Katılım Emeklilik Pension Fund, the project stands out for its cutting-edge technology.
With DigiZoo, we aim to introduce advanced technology and instill awareness of a sustainable future by offering educational yet entertaining experiences for children. We expect to host around 160,000 visitors annually, with children comprising a significant portion. We also offer workshops and social spaces for parents. DigiZoo is the world's largest holographic zoo, stems from factors such as area size, exhibit variety, and display technology.
Combining advanced imaging techniques with artificial intelligence algorithms, DigiZoo brings prehistoric creatures and modern animals to life, highlighting both the wonders of nature and pressing global issues like the climate crisis. Experiences at DigiZoo are designed to stimulate children's curiosity, improve motor skills, and nurture their connection with technology. The digital aquarium introduces creative activities like fish painting, encouraging hands-on engagement while fostering technological literacy. Similarly, the dinosaur fossil zone offers an opportunity to explore prehistoric remnants.
That's all for today from Baku. Thank you for joining us, and don't forget to stay tuned to A News for more updates. See you next time.